Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. I've got some really bad stuff to show you today. Well, to get to it, the last couple days I've been doing some work on some track frames, and I don't know if I'm going to roll this into the 5J1113 build or not, but here are 1113's track frames, all the rollers, idlers, recoils, everything there. They don't look too bad. Last few days after work though, I've been busting down a couple of other track frames. You can see I've pretty much just got one left here that were in very bad shape, and well, let's just say scraps high. We're throwing together a load to haul. A lot of this stuff's going to be on it because it's not good, but it's just so astounding. I wanted to take this opportunity to show y'all how bad some of these things can get. Let's get started. So we'll start with this track frame right here. It's the same piece as that, just with everything taken off of it and flipped upside down. You can see the four bottom track rollers, minus the bearing caps, I just placed back on there. Nothing looks very good at all. But to start, we'll take our handy little undercarriage measurement wear gauge, and all the different contours and shapes and designs and everything are on this, and it's just awesome. Right here we have roller recondition. So when you have a 1/4 inch gap on the bottom of that, you know it's shot. And you just place it up on top of the roller like that on the flanges. You can see that side's not, we're rolling, that side's not too bad. That side's well past a 1/4 right there. Pretty heavy wear, and what that tells you is basically the hard facing's gone. Okay, so once it gets more than a 1/4 inch gap from the top of the flange, as you can see from that step right there, they just run themselves out really, really fast. This was the best roller on this whole frame. Now these track frames were on my 5U number 7066 Caterpillar D2 that I call the Iron Mistress. And she was pretty rough when I hauled her home. And as happened so often with these machines, years, even decades ago, when they first started becoming obsolete, they were rather worn at that time, and a lot of people decided they weren't putting anything for maintenance back into these, and they were just going to run them out to see what they could get out of them. And you can see from the condition of the rollers, they got every last bit of life out of these and then some. The amount of neglect here is shocking, and the wear, and you should have seen the tracks that were under these rollers. They were so bad they weren't even staying on the tracks anymore. But we'll start with, the front. Just get to the worst first. So yeah, this D2 had a rather heavy aftermarket blade on it, and you could tell they weren't greasing anything because, well, you just take a look at this front roller. When they lift the blade, the majority of the weight would, bear on this right here. And the bearing caps that went on these rollers, we'll just take a look at this one here. I'll take a look. This one looks better. I think you can see there's a bronze bushing for a bearing in the middle, and then you have the cast steel cap, and then the cap bolts to the frame. This one was so bad, well, we started wearing into the frame right here with the roller shaft. This side, you can see the shaft wore through the bushing, and then it wore through the cap, and then it burned a hole right through the track frame. Grease is expensive. Unbelievable. If we take it out, we can even see where the flanges were cutting into the gusseting there and right there. Completely sawed a hole right there. That slot's not even supposed to be there. You can see daylight through that one. And it finally got to the point where that's not so much broken as much as it just seized and stopped spinning. So the track was just grinding down along there. I can't even imagine the noise that would have made, but that's the worst one on the front. I'll tell you what, just to cut right through that, that's like, gosh, I bet we're 3/8 right here, and we're close to half in there. See where it curled a bunch of metal in? Oh my God, that must have been so loud. And then you can see these other ones following suit. Of course, you can tell the track no longer rode along here. It actually shifted in, so you had both chains were running more like this. These actually cone out, which would have kept the track off the rollers to the inside here. This one's pretty bad, although none of these actually wore into the frame. This one's a little bit better. You can see we're curling what was left of the outside flange right there. And by some miracle, the back one still had the inner flange on it, so it was guiding the track chain back onto it just before it got to the drive sprocket right there. Kept it from rolling off completely. On the other side, you can tell by the wear on the caps, that's supposed to be, you know, kind of rounded just like that, but you can see where the track chains were. This would have been on the inside like that. So the track chains were off inside of the rollers and then just burning metal off, just metal on metal contact down all of those caps. That one's just about wore through. That one is wore through. You can see right through it. And I don't even have the cap that came off of that one anymore. I think I scrapped that one years ago. It was so bad, it just, there was nothing left at all. You can see over here just some more nasty rollers. Flange is gone. That one's worn through, just about ready to lose the whole flange. Anyway, all that stuff scrap. Now, front idlers. So we'll look at this one right here. Of course, that's this piece. All right, so this is another one destined for the scrap pile. This was off the old beer can 3J. So you guys that are familiar with the channel know what the beer can engine's all about. But what I like about this, even though this is so heavy, you see a little bit of a dent right there. Like, oh, we ran into something a little bit hard, kind of pounded that in. And then we have a much bigger dent right there than you could even see in the thick part of the radius right there. And then we have a bigger dent yet right there. I think we ran into something 3 times. Man, I don't know how you hit something hard enough to transfer through the grouser pad, through the track link, into this outer rim of the idler, hard enough to bend it multiple times. I just don't know. I don't know how you do that. Well, the beer can knows, but hey, Rosie. And now to assess sprockets. So here's 1113s. They show about 50-ish% wear. Honestly, they're not bad. They're some of the best ones I have on the place, and I'll never run those out. But just to know what we're looking at, I want to show you guys this. Again, from the old beer can 3J D2. Now you look, somebody invested a considerable amount of time into just building all of those sprocket teeth up with weld. It goes all the way around, and I can only imagine how many hours it took to just throw weld on there, rod after rod after rod. It's all the way around, and I bet they built that up 3/4 to 1/2 an inch, and they ran it a long time, because you can see right there the bushings in the track chains actually contacted those spots long enough and enough times to start smoothing out the beads of the weld. We have some, looks like some real shiny hard facing rod. There's probably some regular farmer rod in there. I don't even know, what, 30 pounds a rod, 50 went into building that sprocket up. And they didn't do it once, they did it twice. The reason this one's so yellow is because I actually used this to drape the tracks for 7066 on when I painted them. But same thing, tons of rod, and yeah, we had it running on those track chains long enough to actually start wearing that down, smoothing it out. I mean, gosh, just look at that. When you pick this thing up, it's noticeably heavier than like a standard unworn D2 sprocket. And we'll get the gauge back out. Funny thing is, I think they were a little bit out of pitch. They got it close in some spots, though. I'll tell you what, not bad when you compare it to the original contour of those gullets. But yeah, I don't even know. I don't even know how miserable that had to be, building all that up. And I can't even imagine how miserable it would have been to actually operate that tractor. Anyway, I just want to take a few minutes to show everybody how bad these tractors can be sometimes. And honestly, wear like that is not really uncommon in my part of the world. Between the logging and the mining industries, old Caterpillars pretty much got flogged out and then some around here. The ag machines, like drawbar tractors, like in the plains and out west, seem to fare a lot better. And like 1113 was a drawbar tractor, you can tell it because it just doesn't have the wear on it that, you know, some of those other ones have. And it's like it's actually been maintained. I mean, look at this. You know, all that's old dried grease. That's how hard they were greasing these things. It's a lot to clean up. It's a lot of scraping now, but I tell you what, it rolls nice and smooth, minus all the dirt that's coming out of it. You know, but it just tells me that, you know, it was taken care of. I don't mind old grease at all. Actually, I like seeing it because I know it's somebody that religiously maintained their equipment. So, and I can tell you just by looking at these assemblies here, they are in much, much, much better shape than all of that stuff over there. So I'm not too worried about these, but we'll tear into them and see. Sometimes they can surprise you. Yeah, that's pretty much worst case scenario on everything. I'm just about out of beer can D2 parts to show you guys. I've just pretty much just about been through everything I've had, and not much left, but we're just kind of getting rid of all the stuff that's beyond rebuilding. Some of it you just can't save. Anyway, worst case scenario, undercarriage D2 Carnage. Thanks for watching, everybody.